I truly believe the fines, the targeting, the negative publicity shined on the issue. That's very unnecessary and has furthered the mental health issues for Ben. Either you help Ben or come out and say he's lying. Which one is it?
Doc, do you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Ben Simmons has had just about the most improbable turn of events in such a short amount of time. And yet, here we are today, still with a lot of people unsure of what's really going on and has happened to Ben Simmons. In the 2021 NBA playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers entered the tournament as one of the favorites to at least reach the Eastern Conference Finals and face off against the KD, Kyrie, and Harden-led Brooklyn Nets. But obviously, we didn't get the opportunity to see that matchup, and both teams had entirely different reasons as to why. As the 1 seed in the East, Philly would find themselves matched up with a hungry Atlanta Hawks team led by none other than Trae Young in the Eastern Conference semifinals. That Hawks team had the run of a lifetime. I know I don't speak for everybody, but I will speak for myself when I say that I did not see them going that far. Their series against the Philadelphia 76ers in the Eastern Conference semifinals had no reason to go to 7 games, but it did. After the 76ers jumped out to a 2-1 lead, they lost the next 2 games, putting them in a 3-2 hole. Late in Game 4, the Hawks would start to take full advantage of one of Ben Simmons' biggest weaknesses, his inability to shoot the basketball. You could literally feel the tension every time that Ben stepped to the line. Naturally, this would begin to seriously alter a ton of what Philadelphia wanted to do. This became a nightmare for the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 5, the Atlanta Hawks would go full hack of Ben, which wouldn't have been so bad if he could just shoot free throws. Free throw woes are always so weird to me because the shot is literally meant to be free points. I know that some people, for whatever reason, can improve, but sometimes I think that they just aren't trying hard enough. I watched Jeremy Sohan shoot 45% from free throws this season, decide, hey, this isn't working, go to shooting them one-handed, and then all of a sudden with a ton of practice, he's miraculously this better shooter. Since the switch, Sohan is shooting 78% from the free throw line, and this isn't a small sample size. This happened all the way back in December. To put Ben Simmons' free throw woes into perspective, in just the second quarter of Game 5, Simmons would shoot 2 of 8 from the free throw line, and this would weigh on him for the rest of the game, as he just would not look like the same player. And though the Sixers would manage to pull off a clutch Game 6 victory on the road to keep their season alive, it was hard to ignore what was happening to Ben Simmons on such a large platform. But how in the world did we get here anyways? Well, we have to talk about that, but first, today's content is brought to you guys by Sorare. Our Sorare League is currently over 100 members deep, and it's growing every single day, making last week's pickup tournament debut by Captain Alex that much more impressive. Unfortunately, my Week 44 performance wasn't as strong, but we're going to be looking to change that this week by putting together a filthy lineup. Now guys, remember that when you're submitting your lineup, that the highest game score for each player in a submitted lineup across all games in a game week counts towards your team's total. If a player has multiple games, only the highest score is counted, and the other lower game scores do not count towards your team's total. Also remember that your MVP is literally a cap cheat code. Once you lay him down, you have to start paying attention to it. That's why when you guys saw me lay down Tatum, my cap didn't go down. So quick fun announcement, the winner of my Week 46 and Week 48 Limited Contender Tournament will also be winning a $100 NBA Store gift card. So guys, use the link in the description below to sign up for Sorare and make sure that you join my private NBA league. If you sign up using my link, you'll get 20 free comment cards to help you get started. With these comment cards, you can enter into my common pickup tournament. I want to give a huge shout out to Sorare for coming through and sponsoring today's content. While we see this current Ben, it's easy to forget that just a few years ago, Ben Simmons was considered by so many fans and pundits as one of the best players under 25 in the entire NBA. He was on this list with superstars like Nikola Jokic and Giannis. Mind you, that this is after Ben Simmons entered the NBA as a prodigy. I didn't even want to say it this video, but people were comparing this guy to LeBron James. He was a point forward with elite finishing, sneaky quickness, fast twitch athleticism, and the ability to play all 5 positions on both ends of the floor. While Simmons could potentially play every position, it was easy to tell that he was born to play point. Simmons always had a knack for playmaking and simply destroying teams in transition. His ability to grab a rebound and go coast to coast with his freak athleticism was one of the strongest points in his game and something that he took pride in, calling it the most fluid part of his game. Back in the day, Ben Simmons was really that guy. While he was never Steph Curry or anything, there was a point where he would occasionally take jumpers, and really all this did was make those nasty LeBron comparisons grow louder and louder. While Ben would occasionally take these jumpers, the truth is he still never looked comfortable scoring the ball from outside of the paint. Even when he would shoot jumpers in his earlier preseason years and in the summer league, he shot them reluctantly, almost as if he was being forced to do so. And while it's easy to say in hindsight that this was too big of a problem to overlook, everybody did not feel that way at the time. Why? Because Ben Simmons could give you everything else on the basketball floor. Ben's rookie season was phenomenal. As a rookie, Ben would record 12 triple-doubles, which would be the most for any rookie since 1970. He'd also go on to record the highest win share among rookies, while being second in the whole NBA for defensive win shares and defensive plus-minus. In Ben's first playoff appearance, he looked as good as advertised, averaging 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists on 50% shooting in a 5-game gentleman's sweep of the Miami Heat. And even in the following round, when the Sixers ran into a defensive-minded Celtics squad, Ben played better than most first-timers would, scoring 14 points on 48% from the field. But as time went on, people would catch on to Ben's game, as what would work in the regular season wouldn't work in the postseason. You see, in the postseason, your weaknesses are magnified by a game plan that wants you to look as bad as possible. Ben's shooting struggles would progressively become the theme of Ben in the playoffs, as would his fit alongside Joel Embiid when the lights got the brightest. You see, Simmons couldn't space the floor. This would be a problem, as Joel Embiid is a monster down low. He's somebody that can devastate defenses if you give him the space to. Things got so bad that at one point, Joel straight up came out and said that I don't like shooting threes. I only do it because of the spacing that we have, and sometimes I have to take them. I have to be on the perimeter, just getting guys open because of all of this attention that sometimes it seems is presented to me. I wonder what Joel Embiid could have been referencing here. Fast forward to a couple years later, and I don't even know what to tell you.
So the question is, they're going to have to sit this kid down and say, Ben, it's either A or B. You're going to have to work on, you're going to have to work on your shooting first. Then you're going to have to shoot the ball. Then you're going to have to shoot free throws, or we can't win with you.
Man, I'll be honest. I thought the turning point was, we had an open shot.
It was like the not shooting reached the point of no return. This clip blew up everywhere, and now everybody was talking about how Ben Simmons was this giant liability. The 76ers' L to the Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference semifinals was effectively the end of Simmons' short-lived career in Philly. I think it's safe to say that this was one of the weirdest breakups in NBA history.
Now this video is from yesterday, from Monday. He was at practice with the Sixers. He did more than just stand there.
He had a cell phone.
According to who? Would it happen?
Well, Kenny, he had a cell phone in his pocket.
But I'm talking about this part.
I'm just saying, when the coach is talking, you
looks a little disengaged. You didn't say that, Kenny.
I could point out somebody else in that video.
Anyway,
Ben Simmons wanted nothing to do with Philly after this series, so much so that he show up to training camp in sweats with a phone in his pocket, or so we thought. Shams let us know that instead of a phone like everybody initially believed, that it was actually a practice jersey in his pocket that he was supposed to be wearing. Regardless, Doc wouldn't be happy with him and would have him leave, and then the team would go on to suspend him for actions that were detrimental to the team. All the while, Ben is eating these $360K fines for each game that he refuses to play in. These fines would end up totaling a ridiculous $19 million when it was all said and done. Now, I do realize that Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid sort of threw Ben Simmons under the bus in this whole situation, but was your beef with them really worth missing out on $19 million? I can't imagine sitting on the bench stone-faced for 4 months or so, just eating $360,000 fines. I would have been on the phone with Rich Paul like, are you sure this is the move? Seriously though, you can't put a dollar figure on your own well-being. If Ben thought that was best for Ben, then who am I to judge? I know that a lot of us were thinking that when Ben was finally free from Philly, he would suit up and play games alongside two of the top offensive threats in the NBA in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
And I'm excited to play with, you know, Kev, Kai, Joe, all those guys. Like, we just have an unbelievable team. And I know it, like, for me, after surgery, I knew it was going to take to get back to where I need to be. And I've been locked in.
Unfortunately, I was one of the ones who believed that he was going to fit in perfectly with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, two of the greatest scorers that the game has ever seen from the perimeter, being paired with a 6'9" slashing point guard that now had every reason to prove everybody wrong. What could possibly go wrong? It turns out, everything. Ben has still had his teammates ask very simple things of him.
Now Irving sees his seam, drops it off.
He has still had coaches be critical of him and struggle to figure out how to use him.
Coach, I think this is the second time for Ben on the second.
TJ, sorry.
Okay.
Need contusion for TJ. So he got hit. That's contusion. Let me clarify my my diagnosis for you, Megan. And Ben was knee soreness. You just take a look at what the lineups could potentially look like. You put another big next to Ben, then you got to figure out what the spacing is around him. Then if you put a playmaker next to him, then you got to figure out what Ben looks like without the basketball. Then if you go small with Ben, then you got to figure out, can you rebound enough with him?
With Kyrie and KD not even there anymore, you think that there would be no pressure, no expectations, and yet somehow things are still continuing to get worse for Ben Simmons. Not only has he dropped the mega agency clutch that guided him through that whole trade mess in search of a new start, but also the back injury that has plagued him this season would knock him out for the rest of it. Though this news absolutely sucks, the good news is that he's going to be rehabbing, he's not expected to need surgery, and that he should be ready to go by training camp. The bad news is that back injuries are no joke, and Ben has had back problems for a while now, which probably has affected his play. Oh yeah, and there's still that whole he doesn't want to shoot thing. There were times this year where he didn't look like an NBA player. That intensity that made him so valuable now runs incredibly hot and cold. At this point, I could care much less about Ben being great. I really just want him to be good. And I mean that in multiple ways. If he's meant to be a backup big for the rest of his career, then I want him to be the best backup big that he could possibly be. Guys, in the comments below, how do you think that Ben works through something like this? And where does Ben Simmons go from here? What's his next NBA contract going to look like, and is he even going to get another NBA contract? Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.